Kobe, is this trade thing fair to people involved? The whole renege trade thing, is that fair to the players here? Is it fair to you guys?
It's a messed up situation where players can't go where they want to go now.
Villanueva posted on his Twitter account that Garnett called him a cancer patient during the game.
David Stern needs to get fired.
Garnett, grow up, learn your lesson, total douchebag.
The second he loses out, all of a sudden we want to moan and scream about everything.
You echo those thoughts, Skip?
He's got to grow up.
Half the stuff you probably hear about me is not even true.
And we've supported him for 7 years now. And for him to go on there and drag us through the mud for 7 years and stab us in the heart, he deserves everything he gets. I hope he never wins anything in Miami.
There are many on-court feuds, and we can't forget about the infamous Malice in the Palace.
By that, he erupted. He knew exactly who it was. Evan Jackson and Rasheed Wallace trying to be peacemakers while Jackson yelled. Was his ejected? I'm not sure.
But let's take a step off the court, because there's still problems that happens around the NBA, in and out of the stadium. This is the biggest off-court feuds. Laker Nation versus David Stern. In December of 2011, many assumed a trade, initially sending Chris Paul to the Los Angeles Lakers instead of their fellow Staples Center occupants. It was a done deal until then NBA Commissioner David Stern stepped in and shut it down. The agreed upon trade between the Hornets, Lakers, and Rockets would send CP to the Lakers in exchange for and Lamar Odom. And it was a done deal until other owners decided to chime in, including angry letter writer Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert was already in a bad mood since LeBron James left the Cavs in 2010. As a result, he didn't want to see another super team get built. Once word spread the Lakers would acquire Paul, Gilbert sent a message to Stern, raging about how unfair the deal was. He called the proposed deal a travesty and urged Stern to put the deal to a vote of the rest of the league's team's owner.
He says it would be a travesty to allow the Lakers to acquire Chris Paul in the apparent trade being discussed. I cannot remember ever seeing a trade where a team got by far the best player in the trade and saved over $40 million in the process. I just don't see how you can allow this trade to happen.
Well, I'm getting really sick and tired of hearing from Dan Gilbert. He needs to stop whining. His act has gotten a bit old. He needs to grow up, okay? That's number one.
And because the Hornets had no private owner at the time, David Stern then had the final say, and he vetoed the deal. He responded to the backlash by saying it was for basketball reasons. He said he didn't approve of the Hornets' haul in the trade.
I blame the why they did it because I think their logic is upside down and wrong-headed. The why is the problem I have because I think it would have been a better trade for New Orleans than it ultimately would have been for the LA Lakers.
Lakers fans were very angry that he vetoed the trade, but the late NBA commissioner said his reasoning behind it was, quote, because I was protecting the then Hornets.
Was that veto, since you had never done one before, was it the right thing to do and why?
No, I didn't veto anything. Acting on behalf of the owners, as the owners' rep, New Orleans decided not to make the trade.
Well, whose decision was it to stop the trade?
No, not to stop. No, not to stop. There's no superstar that gets traded in this league unless the owner says go ahead with it. And in the case of New Orleans, the representative of the owner said that's not a trade we're going to make.
But that representative was you, if I'm right.
Correct.
But why?
What? So, in effect, then, you said the trade is not going to go through.
I said that New Orleans would not make the trade that had been proposed to them.
And was that the right move to make?
You know, you buy a ticket and see.
Stern's role in it all left the fans Lakers not liking him. And here's just what a few had to say.
Chris Paul trade is on a whole basically at a halt. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be a Laker.
Now this David Stern has canceled this trade. This is bull. you, David Stern, and the rest of the NBA owners.
And it's all because of David Stern, which nobody really likes. I don't like him.
God, I haven't even... Have you ever seen anything like this? Because I swear I haven't. Alright.
Of course, I'm a Lakers fan, and I just feel like it's ridiculous, though. Not even so much on the strength that I'm a Lakers fan and having on my team. It's just really the fact that David Stern and the owners have that much power, though.
David Stern needs to get fired.
I'm not a bad guy. I will be a bad guy until Chris Paul comes back on the Lakers.
It's a messed up situation where players can't go where they want to go now, and the owners have that much power to basically stop anything.
Kobe, is this trade thing fair to people involved? The whole renege trade thing, is that fair to the players here? Is it fair to you guys?
I mean, you know, unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast. It's just the business that we're in.
Thinking that they're a player that's wanting to be traded and then telling them, no, you have to come back after the fact, it just makes it absolutely ridiculous for those organizations.
You can find quotes on the record that Stern was going to let the front office in place at the time work as it normally would, which the three-team trade agreed upon in principle. But a few emails and letters were sent out, and then Stern came in and canceled it all, after other owners came crying to him. Or my bad, it was for basketball reasons.
Chris Paul would be the face of the city right now if David Stern hadn't stepped in and changed basketball history. And if you're a Lakers fan and if you are an NBA fan, you're still angry to this day that was changed for some, I don't know why.
But the NBA was running the Pelicans.
Right, and that's a problem.
Dan Gilbert versus LeBron James. Let's take a stroll down memory lane when James took his talents to South Beach.
In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
For him to go on there and drag us through the mud for 7 years and stab us in the heart, he deserves everything he gets. I hope he never wins anything in Miami.
He has since expressed regret at the flashy nature of his announcement, a live televised special that led up to his hometown hating him in very unpleasing words from his previous owner. Some people think they should go to heaven, but not have to die to get there. Gilbert wrote in a letter posted on the team's website that night. The entire letter was bizarre. To the personal guarantee that the Lakers would win a title before LeBron would.
He thinks he's going to win a championship without LeBron. I'm sure he wishes it. I'm glad he does. It says good competitive things about him, but it's a pure fantasy. The reality is he has no shot because he's terrible.
To quote, the self-declared former king will be taking the curse with him down south. This story just blows my mind, cause this just goes to show you, people true colors goes to show when things don't benefit them.
And then Gilbert never had a problem with it when he had LeBron James. It's a problem now that he lost LeBron James. The second he loses out, all of a sudden we want to moan, and scream about everything.
You echo those thoughts, Skip?
He's got to grow up.
But more so, it was offensive. Gilbert called James' departure a cowardly betrayal, a shameful display of selfishness, and the exact opposite lesson of what he would want our children to learn.
There's a difference between, I hope my kids don't grow up like you, cowardly betrayal, and mistakes. A mistake isn't a letter publicly shaming you, calling out your soul. And then the fans burnt the jersey. You go back to that Dan Gilbert letter, that's not a mistake.
You would have thought an angry kid wrote this letter in their diary. But nope, it was a grown man writing a letter to the internet. The league fined Gilbert $100,000, but it didn't stop him from continuing to speak on the matter.
We were saying today that maybe he wishes now he hadn't hit send. But when that letter came out, was that letter hurtful to you?
Yeah, it was. It was hurtful. You know, because I know how much I put into that organization. You know, and every night I went on the floor, I tried to give my all, and I tried to bring a championship to that city, you know, every single night. But at the same time, I understood that, you know, everyone has their opinion.
In 2011, after LeBron and the Heat lost to Dallas in the finals, Gilbert tweeted, "Congrats to Mark C and the entire Mavs organization. The Mavs never stopped, and now the entire franchise get rings. Old lesson for it all, there's no shortcuts. None."
Were you aware of those tweets, and did you have any reaction to them after the game?
Nah, not aware. I'm not on social media right now, so I wasn't aware of that. It was his account though, right? Didn't.
Gilbert's reaction crossed many lines, including some that James will never forget. He said he felt the letter was related to his blackness and it was racial. It was a conversation that I had to have with my kids. It pops in my head a few times here and a few times there. I mean, it's just human nature. I think that it had a lot to do with race at the time. James said, "What most people should understand by now is that the NBA is strictly business, and players should feel empowered to follow their own career paths."
I think the worst thing, and the thing I was more hurt about, is that was, a lot of people were saying I was selfish, and I think a lot of people got that misunderstood because I was making a huge sacrifice. I was leaving a franchise where I was the face of that franchise.
Where you were king.
Right,
You were king,
and now
James.
I was going down, here to Miami to join with someone that's already been the face of the franchise with D Wade. So, the selfish thing kind of got to me a lot because I knew that was the last thing that I've ever wanted to be, in life, both on and off the floor.
I'm a big LeBron fan, and this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. And I just want to say that I hope that LeBron doesn't win a championship in Miami.
But the crazy part is how after all those things James went through, after leaving for Miami and winning a pair of titles, he went back to his native, Northeast Ohio, returning to Cleveland in a less flashier decision by announcing it in a page-long Sports Illustrated article. To make the move, I needed the support from my wife and my mom, who can be very tough, James wrote in 2014. The letter from Dan Gilbert, the booing Cleveland fans, the jerseys being burned, seeing all that was hard for them. LeBron said that him and Dan met face to face prior to him returning so they can get a better understanding of each other and hear both of each other's side.
It was a straightforward conversation with no beating around the bush. He basically said, no matter what decision you make, you want to clear the air. And, to where we see each other in public or we see each other wherever. If I'm competing against you, we can always shake each other's hands and look at the fun times that we had in Cleveland while we were together instead of focusing on a one night that kind of, everyone kind of focuses on.
Which I'm sure took a lot of power of suppressing that pride, because me could never.
Can never beat me.
Kevin Garnett versus the entire NBA community. Over his career, KG is known for his intensity and competitiveness, but this time the whole NBA was not on his side at all. KG reached new levels in 2010 when the Pistons' Charlie Villanueva accused Garnett of calling him a cancer patient.
Well, Kevin Garnett has never been shy on the court, but according to Charlie Villanueva, he crossed the line last night. Villanueva posted on his Twitter account that Garnett called him a cancer patient during the game.
One of the tweets says, "KG called me a cancer patient. I was pissed because you know how many people die from cancer, and he's tossing it like it was a joke." Charlie suffers from alopecia, a medical condition that results in hair loss.
KG, you gotta come up with something better than that.
But you don't call someone a cancer patient. Garnett, you're not such a saint yourself.
Just say you're a cancer patient? What does that mean? Cancer patients are the most, brave warriors that you have out there. Like, that is not good trash talk to me.
Absolutely. You've gotten away with a lot so far in your career. There's not much more you're going to get away with after this. Garnett, grow up, learn your lesson. Total douchebag.
He followed up by saying, "KG talks a lot of crap. He's probably never been in a fight. I would love to get in the ring with him. I will expose him."
He's a trash talker. He talks a lot for sure. He doesn't back it up.
Garnett called the incident a major miscommunication. My comment to Charlie was, in fact, "You are cancerous to your team and our league," Garnett said.
I'm a passionate player, man, and with all these rules, and I'm trying my best to to get out of situations. Definitely not trying to invite them. I leave it out there 100% on the court. I make no ends about it. I'm a competitive human being.
It's nothing personal towards anybody I play. It's the way I play, night in, night out.
I would never be insensitive to the brave struggle that cancer patients endure. I have lost loved ones to the deadly disease and have a family member currently undergoing treatment. I would never say anything that distasteful. The game of life is far bigger than the game of basketball. Although there's no true verification of what was said between the two players, KG and Charlie did get into it during the game. Charlie's been teased all his life regarding to his condition. It's one thing to hear negative, insulting comments from sport fans rooting against you, but to hear from your peers, it's just completely stupidity, said Robert Villanueva, Charlie's older brother. Now with all that, some even say the way Charlie handled it was kind of a simp move for crying out for help by going to Twitter instead of dealing with it like a man.
They're grown men in my eyes, and I believe that the way he handled that, they could have talked that out. You understand? People have said way worse.
It's a very fragile world that we live in now, and everybody. You almost have to have people around you that protect everything that you say and do. And so we do as athletes. We have to be aware of those things.
Half the stuff you probably hear about me is not even true.